To our channel.
Are you planning to move to Canada?
And you're still not sure how to go about submitting your PR application?
Then you have come to the right place.
In this video, we are going to talk to you about our experience with Canadian immigration and about life in Canada in general for a new immigrant. So stay tuned. So we moved to Canada from India in the year 2017, and our journey started sometime in the mid of 2016 when Kishore made a business trip to Ottawa that year. And I really think that was the starting point.
Yeah, I came to Ottawa in the mid of 2016 for a short business trip. That was my first trip to any North American city. I was very much excited about the trip. However, there were a lot of doubts in mind that how the place would be and what is there in store for me. However, I came to Ottawa. I stayed there for 2 months. It was a summer. It was summer during that time, and the weather was very beautiful, and I really liked the place. People were very good, and they were very warm and welcoming. So that kind of created a very positive thing in my mind for Canada, and I strongly felt that the quality of life here in Canada is much better. And I started exploring options for immigrating to Canada. And once I returned back to India, I discussed this with my family, and we further explored opportunities or options that we have to immigrate to Canada. And that is when we came across something called as Express Entry program. We realized that this is one of the program which is a fast way to immigrate to Canada, and it is best suited for a skilled person like me. So we went ahead and we gathered all the information required for applying for this under this program, and we would be sharing about those details in our video further, that what the documentation process is, what are all the various steps that are involved in applying for an Express Entry program. So Express Entry was the thing that we applied, and we always wanted to come down to Ontario because that is a place which had got a lot of opportunities in the field in which both of us were working. And right from the beginning, we were very clear we have to come for Ontario, but we didn't apply for the specific program or Ontario PNP program. We applied for under the general pool in Express Entry, and it took about a year for us to complete the process and get the PR. So there are there were two steps which we can say broadly for an Express Entry. One is the phase before you get an invitation to apply, which is when you have to collect certain documents and you have to submit to the immigration department, where they would based on their scores, based on certain criteria which Bhava would explain you later in the video, they would assess whether you are eligible to come to Canada, and they will invite you to apply for a PR process. And then the second is the actual PR process, where you submit another set of documents, and based on that a decision is made whether you get a PR or not. So we would be covering all this extensively in our video, and we would share all the information and that we know and the experience, our experiences with you, so that it helps you to plan your immigration properly. And we would be more than happy to help you and answer your questions. So let's get started.
Let's look at the different steps involved in applying for PR through Express Entry. Now, there are two major steps involved in this process. The first is where you'll be submitting a set of application to the Express Entry pool. Now, here is where the immigration is trying to understand whether you're eligible to apply for PR. Now, how do they do this? They look at certain factors in your profile, and based on those factors, your profile is going to be scored. And they use a system called Comprehensive Ranking System, or CRS, to do this. Now, once you submit your documents to the Express Entry pool, your profile gets the CRS score. And every time the immigration conducts the rounds of invitation, if your CRS score is equal to or above the cutoff CRS score in that particular round of invitation, then you get what they call as the invitation letter, or the ITA. That will then take you to the next step, which is where you will be actually submitting an application for PR processing. There again, you will have to submit a set of documents like police certificate, medical exam, and proof of funds. So once you submit these documents, the immigration reviews your profile once again, and if they approve, you get your PR. Now let's look at these things in detail. When I mentioned that they look at your eligibility for applying for PR, what I meant is the immigration has a set of basic requirements that they are looking for in an individual who is applying for PR. Now, these requirements depend on the type of immigration program that you're applying to. Say, for example, we applied through the Federal Skilled Workers Program, that is the FSW. Now, under the FSW program, they have certain selection factors. And what are they? They include age, education, previous work experience, whether or not you have a valid job offer, your language skills, and finally, your adaptability. Let me give you an example. If your age is between 18 to 35, then your profile gets a score of 12, and this is the maximum score you can get for age. This score keeps decreasing as your age increases. The next is education. Now, the immigration will not accept your documents related to your degree or your diploma certificates directly. What you must do is you will be submitting your certificates and pertaining to your education to a designated organization like the WES, and the WES will assess your educational qualification, and they call it as Educational Credential Assessment, ECA. Now, when the WES finishes your evaluation, they will send the report directly to the immigration. The next is work experience. Now, if you are someone who wants to come to Canada through the FSW PR program, then you are supposed to be having your work experience in certain categories. Now, there are several categories which the immigration classifies certain job types, but with respect to FSW, there are only 3 categories. That is skill type 0, skill type A, and skill type B. Now, if your work experience in the past is around managerial level, then you are someone with a skill type 0. If you have a degree, if you have a university degree, a professional, like a doctor or a dentist or an architect,
Hello everyone, this is Bhava.
And this is Kishore. Welcome to our channel.
Are you planning to move to Canada?
And you're still not sure how to go about submitting your PR application?
Then you have come to the right place.
In this video, we are going to talk to you about our experience with Canadian immigration and about life in Canada in general for a new immigrant. So stay tuned. So we moved to Canada from India in the year 2017, and our journey started sometime in the mid of 2016 when Kishore made a business trip to Ottawa that year. And I really think that was the starting point.
Yeah, I came to Ottawa in the mid of 2016 for a short business trip. That was my first trip to any North American city. I was very much excited about the trip. However, there were a lot of doubts in mind that how the place would be and what is there in store for me. However, I came to Ottawa. I stayed there for 2 months. It was a summer. It was summer during that time. A positive thing in my mind for Canada, and I strongly felt that the quality of life here in Canada is much better. And I started exploring options for immigrating to Canada. And once I returned back to India, I discussed this with my family, and we further explored opportunities or options that we have to immigrate to Canada, and that is when we came across something called as Express Entry program. We realized that this is one of the program which is a fast way to immigrate to Canada, and it is best suited for a skilled person like me. So we went ahead and we gathered all the information required for applying for this under this program, and we would be sharing about those details in our video further, that what the documentation process is, what are all the various steps that are involved in applying for an Express Entry program. So Express Entry was the thing that we applied, and we always wanted to come down to Ontario because that is a place which had got a lot of opportunities in the field in which both of us were working. And right from the beginning, we were very clear we have to come for Ontario, but we didn't apply for the specific program or Ontario PNP program. We applied for under the general pool in Express Entry, and it took about a year for us to complete the process and get the PR. So there are there were two steps which we can say broadly for an Express Entry. One is the phase before. Hello everyone, this is Bhava.
And this is Kishore. Welcome to our channel. About Saskatchewan Immigration Nominee Program. A couple of days ago, we did a video on PNP program, which was a basic overview of the different kind of have for PNP program in general. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link to that video in the description box below. You can go and watch that if you're interested. Today's video is the second one in the series, and it's going to be on Saskatchewan Immigration Nominee Program, the SINP. To those of you who are new here, I am Bhava and this is our channel. We post a lot of videos on Canada, life in Canada, how to apply for Canadian PR, how to find a job in Canada, and many more other videos. So please do browse through our videos, and if you really like them, please do share them with your friends. In the coming days, we'll be doing videos on the different provinces in Canada and the different immigration programs that they have. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do consider subscribing and press the bell icon for notification so that you get notified when I release the next video. Alright, so the SINP program, they have three different categories. One is the International Skilled Workers Program, the second is Saskatchewan Experience, and the third is Entrepreneur and Farm. We are going to be talking about the International Skilled Workers Program. In the previous video, I mentioned that different provinces in Canada have different immigration programs, and now they have this to, according to their economic demands and the economic growth and demographic needs, they have different immigration programs. So for a province to nominate you, you need to be eligible first. And Saskatchewan kind of checks your eligibility based on certain factors in your profile, and they score you, and they call it points assessment grid. That's what we're going to be looking at right now. So for about 100 points, you need to have at least 60 points to be eligible to apply for SINP. Now let's look at the first category, which is education and training. So under this, if you have master's degree or a doctorate degree, then you get the maximum score is 23, and that's what you get here. If you have a bachelor's degree, you get 20. If you have a diploma, then you get 15, and then you have only a certificate, then you get 12. The maximum that you can score with education and training category is 23. Moving on, let's look at work experience category. Under this, they score you depending on the number of years of work experience that you have. Say if you have 5 years of work experience in the past 5-year period, then you get the maximum score of 10. And your score keeps decreasing as the number of years that you have worked in the past in the 5-year period goes down. So in the 6 and 10-year period, again, you get a maximum score of 5 points if you have 5 years of work experience. And that score keeps decreasing as your number of years of experience keeps going down. So what this means is if in the past 6 to 10 year period, you have less than 1 year of work experience, 1 or less than 1 year, then you get 0 points. You get no score if you have no work experience. Now let's look at language ability. The CLB stands for Canadian Language Benchmark, and according to the SINP requirements, you need to have at least a CLB of 4 to get a minimum score of 12. So minimum is 12 and the maximum you get is 20 points for a CLB of 8 or more. Now, how do these scores translate to IELTS? Let me show you. So if you need at least 4 CLB, then you need to have at least 3.5, 4, 4.5 and 4 in reading, writing, listening and speaking in the IELTS. Now, if you need to get your 20 points, which is the maximum 20 points on the language ability, then you need to have at least 6.5, 6.5, 7.5 and 6.5. This is the band that you need to score in your IELTS to be getting your maximum points on your language ability. Now let's look at age. According to the SINP, if you are under 18 or over 50, then you get no points. If you are between 22 to 34, then you get a maximum score of 12 for the age category. Let's look at another set of factors which the SINP considers. If you have a close relative in Saskatchewan, or if you've worked in Saskatchewan in the past, or if you have studied, if you've been a student and you've studied in one of the universities in Saskatchewan, then you get additional points, and you get about 20 if you have a family relative. You get additional 5 points if you've worked in the past in Saskatchewan, or if you've been a student in Saskatchewan, you get an additional 5. So you get additional 30 points if you have, if you qualify into one of these categories. So that kind of brings us to a total of 100 points. So the first few factors that we discussed, the education and training, work experience, language ability, and age. So all those 4 categories together comes up to a total of 70 points, and based on the maximum score that you can get. And the maximum points that you can score on the second one that I mentioned right now here is 30 points, and that's what you get here. So both factors put together, you get a total of 100, and you need at least 60 to be eligible to apply for SINP. So if you're wondering, what are the chances of somebody getting a nomination from SINP and subsequently their PR if they have a score of 60 on 100? What is the chance? Well, I will be answering that, but you'll have to watch the video until the very end to know the answer. I will discuss the scenario, and I will present some information on what the score has been in the past, what the cutoff has been by the SINP in the past. So based on that, we'll be able to understand that better. But to see that, you'll have to wait until the very end. Moving on. So the International Skilled Workers Program in itself is divided into 3 different categories. The first is employment offer, the second is Saskatchewan Express Entry, and the third is occupation in demand. Now let's look at what the differences are between these three categories. Now, the employment offer category is meant for those who have a job offer already from an organization in Saskatchewan. So if you have that job offer, then you fall into that category. While the Saskatchewan Express Entry and the Occupation and Demand, they don't need a job offer, but it is meant for those who want to live and work in Saskatchewan, and you need an Express Entry profile for applying for the Express Entry Saskatchewan Express Entry category. And for the Occupation and Demand, you don't need to have a job offer, but your job occupation has to be in the high demand list. Now, the points that are required, as I mentioned in the previous slide, the eligibility points required in all the three are 60. For language, the requirement is 4 CLB4 in employment offer and in occupation and demand. For the Saskatchewan Express Entry, the CLB depends on the federal Express Entry's requirements, so go do check that out. Moving on to work experience, the requirement for all the three categories is the same. You need to have at least 1 year of work experience in the past 10 years to be eligible to apply to one of these programs. But remember that your overall score will vary, and depending on how many years of experience, the more number of years you have of experience, the better chances you have. So remember that. But they need at least 1 year of experience. Do you need an offer letter of a full-time employment? Yes, only for this category. For the other two, you don't need to have a job offer. And your NOC code has to be in A, B, or O category for all the three different programs. Now, what are the documents that are required? They're pretty same for all of them. Except for the job offer letter, which you need only for the employment category. The other two don't require an employment offer letter. You need to have an Express Entry profile for this one. And the CLB, as I mentioned, you need your CLB, you need your language test for all the three. You need to have your WES evaluation done, your ECA. And you need to have a work experience credential. They don't require offer letter, but they need your past work experience, as a proof. So you need to provide proof of your work experience in the past. And if your job is under the regulated professions, then you need to have those licensing credentials, if applicable, for all the three categories. Now, settlement funds is something that they need for the Saskatchewan Express Entry and the in-demand occupation. Because when you have an offer letter and when you already have a job offer, they don't ask you to show proof of funds, but you need to have proof of funds, and these are the amounts. I will leave these information in the description box so you can go check that out. Alright, now let's talk about the different steps involved in applying for the SINP program. This is going to be very different from the federal Express Entry program. So if you are somebody who's looking for information on how to apply for PR through the Express Entry, the federal government's Express Entry program, then I have another video on that. I'll leave the video link in the description box below. Go check that out if you are looking for that particular PR application process. This one is meant only for the Saskatchewan province, and it talks about how to apply for the SINP, how to submit your profile to be considered for nomination, and then how you get your ITA and how to get your PR through this process, to go and live in Saskatchewan. So that's what we're going to be looking at right now. So the first thing that you need to do is have your ECA and IELTS. And the third thing that you need to do is create your Express Entry profile. Now remember that a province can only nominate you; they cannot give you PR directly. So, in the process that we're going to follow right now is we are going to understand how to apply for SINP, how to receive your nomination. But at the end of the day, you will still need to have an Express Entry profile because the federal government is going to issue your PR. So you need to have, in the third step, you're going to create your Express Entry profile. The fourth step is where the province comes in, and you will be creating your expression of interest profile on the Saskatchewan government website. I'll leave a link to that website in the description box below. Go check that out. So what happens here is, remember the eligibility that we talked about. So you need to have at least 60 over 100. So if you have 60 over 100, you're eligible. But that's just eligible. That doesn't give you 600 points. That doesn't give you anything. I mean, it doesn't take you down. You still need to follow this. You need to wait for a cutoff announcement that comes from the SINP. So they have a draw, and I think they do it every couple of weeks. And say your score is 64 and the cutoff is 64, you will get what they call as the invitation letter from the SINP. This is not the same as the invitation that comes from the federal government. This one comes from the Saskatchewan government. So once you get the invitation from them, then you collect the next set of documents. You submit your application along with $350 Canadian dollar fee to the Saskatchewan province. And then if your application gets accepted, you will get 600 points, because that is when you get your nomination, and then you get 600 points on your CRS. Now, if you're someone who is looking for information on how to apply for PR through the express entry, the federal government's express entry, I have another video for that. You don't have to follow this procedure. You need to follow what I've mentioned in that video. So go check that out if that is something that you're looking for. This is meant for those who are interested in applying for the Saskatchewan province and receive a nomination from Saskatchewan. So once you get your 600 points in your CRS score, your score will go up, and you will wait for the ITA draw that happens with the federal government. Once they do the next, the FSW Express Entry draw, you get your ITA. Then you will submit your application to the federal government for PR, and then you have to wait for 6 months to a year to get your PR and then come to Canada. Now, in the past, the SINP cutoff, the average has been around 69 in the year 2019. So you may ask, what are the chances? What are the chances of me getting a nomination, or what are the chances of getting a nomination and subsequently PR if I apply through SINP? Let's look at this thing. Remember the first set of factors that I mentioned: education, age, language, and work experience. These are the maximum points you can get. You can get a maximum of 70 points if you have like a master's degree, and you get 23. If your age is between 22 to 34, you get 12. And you have like this, if you have this kind of a score or more in your IELTS, then you get 20. Now this is the maximum that you can get. So having a best profile like this gets you 70 points. But the average draw score, the cutoff with the SINP, has been 69. So you're just there. You're just, what if the score goes up to 71 or 72? Even with the best possible profile, you probably have a very dicey chance. So let's look at a candidate who doesn't have the perfect profile. They don't get 70 points. Let's look at someone who has a bachelor's degree. You're between 20 to 34, so you get 12 maximum there. Your language is not bad, it's good, so you get about 6, 6, 6, and 6, so that's your CLB 7. You get 18 for that. You get 10 points for 5 years of work experience in the past 5 years, so you get 10 points for that. And your total is 60. Now 60 is eligible, so this person is eligible to apply for the SINP. So what that means is you can go up to here. You can get your ECA, IELTS, create your express entry, create your expression of interest profile because you're eligible. But when the announcement comes for the draw, and if the announcement brings a cutoff of 69, then this person is not going to get it. Now, remember I said a couple of other points as well. So the second set of factors is having a close family relative in Saskatchewan, having worked in Saskatchewan in the past, or if you have studied in Saskatchewan in the past. Now, that gives you an additional 30 points. Now, unfortunately, not many of us have a relative in Saskatchewan. We can't just bring a relative out of thin air in Saskatchewan, right? So that's not possible. Not all of us have studied in Saskatchewan. Not all of us have worked in Saskatchewan. So the chances of somebody getting 30 points from here is very, not everybody can get it. But imagine a person having this kind of a normal person, a normal profile, 60 points. If he has these kind of factors and if he's eligible, he gets these 30 points, he gets, he will definitely get it, because the chance of SINP, the Saskatchewan province, bringing down their cutoff score, not the eligibility, but the cutoff. The cutoff to go around less than 64 is, it's probably not going to happen. They're probably going to be around 64, 65 in this year. So with just 60 points, nobody has a chance. What I'm trying to say is, not everybody can have these 30 points. So even with the best possible score that you can get, which is in your hands, right? So even with that, you get just 70 points, and which is like barely there. And if the CRS, if the SINP cutoff does not go beyond 70, then somebody with this profile will definitely get it. So these are some things that you'll have to understand. These are some points that you'll have to keep in mind, before you decide which province you need to go for, which province will nominate you, which province has in your job category, in your in the job that you're doing, your kind of skills that you have. Find out which province suits your profile, and then go ahead and apply for that particular province. Another important thing related to Saskatchewan is that they have a list of excluded occupations, which will not come under the express entry or in the in-demand occupation list. I'll leave a link to this, this description in the description box below. Go check that out. And the other thing that you need to remember is, if your profession is under the regulated occupations, then go check that list as well, and then make sure that everything is fine before you decide to apply for the SINP. So that's all from me for today. I hope this video was useful to all of you. If you really like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And I will be releasing new videos in the coming days. I'll be talking about the different provinces, just like how I did today. We are going to be discussing the other different provinces in Canada and their immigration program. So please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon for notifications so that you get notified every time I release a new video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon, guys. Until then, take care.